you as well. Okay, cool. My name is Nicole and I'm the community manager at Linum Labs. As most of you already know, we are a software development studio focused on solutions in healthcare, identity, and one of our projects focuses on incentivizing communities as well. If you joined our previous call, you would have met Wayne and Florian from Chotia. You can read more about our projects on our website. It's just www.linumlabs.com. It's super in-depth molecule, Chotia, and some of our work before. So one of our company's core pillars focuses on education as well as community. And so giving back to our local ecosystem through skill sharing. So a forum like this. So I'm just looking at my notes to plug you guys in. To get access to our free resources, you can go onto our Medium blog. I will leave some links for you towards the end. And then also to view our calls. So we have the blockchain community call, the molecule community call, which actually takes place on the 11th of July. And then we also run an ETH organizer call. I leave all of the dates for you. And the links towards the end. A few notes from me. I just want to say welcome and thank you for joining the call. It's lovely to have our two speakers. We have Petru Catana, who is the integrations engineer at MakerDAO. And Petru will be demystifying stablecoins for us and giving us an introduction to DAI. So very exciting. And then, we also have Veronica, who is one of my colleagues. And she is a blockchain developer at Molecule. You would have heard more about that if you joined in last week. So we will be evaluating I'll send you the link. We will be evaluating the importance of stablecoins for DeFi, so decentralized finance. And then, just last notes from me. Please keep yourselves on mute while the speakers are presenting. It just helps to avoid feedback. And then feel free to ask any questions you may have towards the end. Pop your questions in as they come to you in the chat channel as we go along. I will be facilitating the Q&A when both speakers have completed. And then also just a quick note, if you've just joined in, this call is being recorded and it will be uploaded to YouTube tomorrow or towards the end of the week for your reference. Other than that, unless I've forgotten anything or you have any questions, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce and welcome Petru as our first speaker. Thanks, guys.
So, hello, guys. I'm Petru. I'm an integrations engineer at MakerDAO. And of course, today I'll demystify DAI and stablecoins, right? So let me just start presenting. So do you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So before I dive into this, I can tell a bit my story to maybe motivate you or inspire you how I got into all this. So it's been a couple of years ago. I was doing marketing management, and I knew about Bitcoin just like from far away, right? I knew it was a currency, but nothing more than that. And like everybody else, you're curious and you want to dive in. And when you dive in, you just fall into the rabbit hole. And then when you fall into the rabbit hole, it's hard to get out because there you find many interesting projects. And one of those projects is Ethereum. And when I saw Ethereum, what Ethereum does, right? I just thought, okay, I need to change my degrees. I need to focus on this because this is the future. This is very amazing. And that's what I did. So for a couple of years, I was just always being part of this meetup groups, right? Community calls, just like this one. And one day I saw a person from Maker coming and presenting. And in the end, they said, yeah, we have some open positions. If you'd like to join in, please. And I did. And then now here I am. I'm an integrations engineer. Let's say junior integrations engineer, but integrations engineer sounds better, right? So without further ado, let's go into MakerDAO and Dai. So of course, the agenda is how Dai works and a quick introduction into the MakerDAO system and Dai system. And of course, you have some Q&A in the end to ask me. So you can see here, Ether and Dai performance, right, over the year 2018. Let me minimize this. And as you can see, Ether crashed in value big time, right, compared to DAI or stablecoin, right? And you might ask yourself, or we ask ourselves as well at MakerDAO, like we need to build a stablecoin, a currency that doesn't fluctuate in value, because you cannot use that for day-to-day transactions, right, to buy services, sell services, and so on, right? Because it becomes very, very complicated, right? So with that in mind, we decided to create a stablecoin that will help the actual adoption of cryptocurrencies and blockchain, right? Because you will not want to be the guy who bought 2 pizzas a couple of years ago, and now those 2 pizzas are worth around $100 million, right? You will not want to do that with Ether as well. So in essence, that's what we did, right? We just looked at this basic problem and we thought to solve it, right? So we went with it. So shortly, pretty much, DAI is just $1, right? DAI is a digital currency on the blockchain. It's a cryptocurrency, has the same parameters as other cryptocurrencies. The only difference is that its value is always pegged to the dollar. So one DAI, $1, right? It's like digital cash in your wallet, pretty much, right? Now, as you might know, there are different kinds of stablecoins out there, right? You heard about Tether, USDC, or many others, right? So these stablecoins usually are categorized in these 3 categories, let's say, right? Some are IOU stablecoins. And IOU stands for an institution, a central authority, a company locking some actual money, actual fiat dollars or euros or African rands, right, into a vault, and then issuing the same amount on the blockchain, right? So that's an IOU stablecoin in a way. So Tether is like that, right? USDC is like that. And of course, these currencies, they have a essential point of failure in a way, right? If the company, does some malicious activities, then you might not be able to actually withdraw your cash from that currency and so on, right? And other stablecoins out there are Seigniorage Share stablecoins. They're still in the research phase right now, but the difference between them is that it's all based on algorithms. So algorithms determine the value of the stablecoin, and algorithms determine the supply of the currency on the market, right? Now, how do all these currencies compare to DAI? Well, DAI, we believe, and we're sure in that it's the first decentralized stablecoin on Ethereum. Decentralized, why? Because all its business logic lives on the Ethereum blockchain, right? There's no, let's say, actual link to the real world, right? So DAI is self-pegged to the dollar, meaning that DAI follows very closely the value of the dollar, right? Also, DAI is an asset-backed hard currency. Well, we don't back it with fiat currency, dollars or euros in a vault somewhere, right? We back it actually with other crypto assets, cryptocurrencies, right? Like Ether. And with that, in a way, we have no central point of failure, right? So the main takeaway of this, you should think about DAI as a programmable money that has it is a medium of exchange, it's a unit of account, and can provide a store of value, right? So far we've been live since December 2017, and we have now 85 million DAI in circulation. And this supply of DAI always varies, right? Varies on the market, varies how much value they lock into the system, right? So this DAI currency works on this DAI stablecoin system. This DAI stablecoin system pretty much is just a set of smart contracts deployed on the Ethereum blockchain, right? That allows us to issue DAI by locking and unlocking digital collateral tokens, in this case, Ethereum. And also this DAI stablecoin system gives administrative power to Maker token holders, right? As we are MakerDAO, DAO stands for a decentralized autonomous organization. The Maker token holders, they have voting power over the decisions on this DAI stablecoin system, right? So if this is the DAI credit system right here, right? Many actors are playing with this, interacting with this system, right? So there are users, maintainers, and governors. So users are, let's say, the part of DAI holders and the owners. The DAI holders are any person who goes on the market and buys, some DAI and, buys some services or uses it for savings and so on, right? CDP owners are actually the advanced users who can issue DAI. I'll get back to it very soon. There's also maintainers like developers who actually write code, write the smart contracts, to build a DAI credit system. Oracles like set of contracts that provide real world price feeds to the system. So in this case, it provides real world market data of Ethereum, right, of Ether price to the system. And of course, there are also keepers who are a set of agents to make sure the system is stable and doesn't allow bad actors, let's say, playing in the system, right? And also there's governors, right? So these governors are part of maker holders and risk teams. Now, of course, like I said before, maker holders, they have administrative power of the system, right? So they have to make decisions to vote on proper dynamics and so on. So the way they make these decisions is by interacting with the risk teams. These risk teams, again, are just a set of people who assess the system, look at the parameters, and create special reports. All these maker holders, they can actually make proper decisions to vote on this DAI credit system, right? So let's now look into how actually DAI is issued, right? So DAI is issued through these CDP owners. CDP owners stands for collateralized debt position, right? You create a position with collateral. In that case, collateral is Ether. So in essence, in order for you to issue some DAI, right, from our system, let's say this value right here, right, you need to lock a certain amount of collateral that is more valued than DAI, because like I said before, DAI is a hard-backed cryptocurrency, right? There's no DAI out there, there's no other currency that backs it up in value, right? So as you can see here, DAI is always over-collateralized by Ether in this case, right? So the way you issue DAI, in essence, is you create a collateralized deposition by locking some collateral in it. And then if you want to get it back, you have to pay back the DAI debt plus a fee, and then you get your collateral, right? So for every DAI out there, there's an excess of collateral in essence. So this might be very similar to a mortgage, right? You go to a bank and you issue a loan, and you give the ownership of the house to the bank, right? So the only time you can get the ownership back of the house is when you pay back the loan, right? So it's pretty much the same. But in our case is you have this Ether currency yourself already, and you lock it to the system. So in a way, you give yourself a loan from the assets that you own already, right? Compared to the bank. And of course, the DAI credit system is, in a way, on the blockchain. So there's no central point of failure, right? Let's say this. So that's how it kind of works. And of course, if the value of your collateral decreases below a certain threshold, you run the risk of becoming liquidated, right? So of course, if you become liquidated, what happens? So the system takes up your collateral and sells it on the market to cover the debt that you created, right? Then if you have anything left over, it gives it back to you, right? So of course, if you become liquidated, actually, what you have is the debt that you created before, plus the leftover collateral that the system gave back to you, right? So again, it's very important if you want to issue DAI through our CDP portal, make sure that the DAI that you issue is over collateralized, right? Because as you know, Ether is very volatile and it might go up or down, right? So there's collateralization ratios out there that you need to follow, right? So in essence, that's how you issue DAI on our CDP portal, right? And so far we have only Ether that you can lock into the system, right? But as you might have heard, soon, very soon, we'll release multi-collateral DAI. And that means that you'll be able to use multiple different assets on the crypto market to lock into our system and issue DAI again, right? And the most exciting part is that we'll be working very closely with security token issuers. So you'll be able to lock actually gold, bonds, companies, stocks, and so on into our CDP portal and issue this DAI, right? So that in essence brings a lot of liquidity to the market, right? So overall, everybody wins with that. And another cool feature we're releasing soon is the DAI savings rate, right? So think of it as a savings account in your bank account, right? You have some assets, some cash, and put it there, and for a year, you probably get a 1% interest rate if you're lucky. The DAI savings rate is kind of the same. You lock your DAI that you have into this smart contract, and you'll have an interest paid to you yearly, right? Pretty much. And another very cool feature later in the next year, we'll create new different stable assets like your DAI or one DAI, if there's demand for it, right? And that's the overall feature for the next release of Maker. So what I explained to you so far is the process of how CDP owners, these advanced users, can issue DAI, right? Now, I'll give you a quick introduction, or let's say an overview of the set of smart contracts that actually make this DAI credit system, right? Because like I said before, everything is deployed on the blockchain, right? So in the end, it's a big system of all these small contracts put together, connected, working flawlessly together, right? So these are the smart contract modules of our multi-collateral DAI system, right? So as you can see, all these modules, they interact with each other, right? So starting from the center core, this is the CDP core. Here mostly, it's CDP core is the accounting system for our DAI system, right? Here you see the CDP core manages how much DAI is actually issued, checks out different price feeds, and makes sure that users are penalized if they don't follow the collateralization ratios and so on, right? So this CDP core, of course, is interactive with different other modules. So let's say, like I said, that we have multi-collateral DAI released soon. We have multiple collateral adapters that will allow to take that collateral and lock it into the system, right? We have Oracle contracts that provide, again, price feeds for these different collateral assets, right? We have, of course, our DAI ERC20 token contract that, of course, is directly linked to this CDP core, right? So like I said before, the supply of DAI always depends on how much collateral is locked and that issues DAI, right? So if a whale locks a ton of ETH into the system and issues a ton of DAI, then of course the supply of DAI will increase drastically, right? So again, we have rates contracts that provide different rates to the system, like the collateralization ratio, the liquidation fee, stability fee, and so on, right? We have also a system stabilizer module that actually incentivizes and rewards the maker holders, right, in making the proper decisions, right? So again, the maker token holders, they can make, they vote on different parameters for the system through this set of smart contracts that are mostly governance, right? And then through the authorized interfaces, you can see they make changes to the system itself, right? So it's a very intricate system, but very simple and beautiful if you look at it this way, right? It took me a couple of weeks or months to actually understand it, but fair enough. I got to the point where I have a big overview of it now. So, like I said, despite the DAI community that we have there, right, maker token holders, they have an important job to make sure that the DAI stablecoin system, it's healthy and grows, right? So these maker holders, they have a voting power, of course, on different collateral types that to be added, on risk parameters like stability fees, collateralization ratios for the assets, and so on. So if they have good governance in the end, of course, the value of the maker will increase by the DAI stablecoin system actually cutting the supply of maker, right? Or if there's a bad governance, the supply of maker will increase, and that means the value of maker overall will decrease. So maker token holders are very incentivized to make sure that everything works fine into the system. So, like I said, MakerDAO is actually a DAO, right? So I made this interesting graphic here to kind of showcase this. There's basically a ton of maker token holders who form this MakerDAO organization, right? And I personally work at the Maker Foundation, which is just a part of this MakerDAO, right? It's not the whole thing of it. And we at MakerDAO, we're building this product, which is just the DAI stablecoin system. It's the decentralized bank in a way, right? It allows everybody to get their assets, lock it into the system, and issue debt, right? Without nobody telling them what, when, how, and with who, right? It's easy. So in essence, Maker is just a decentralized autonomous organization that manages the DAI stablecoin system on Ethereum. So if you didn't get anything at all what I said right now, just look at this picture and think that maker token holders, they're the parent, the caretaker of this DAI stablecoin, right? If they do good parenting they have good parenting skills, and Dai grows and is healthy and it's a good boy. If it's not, then things go south very bad. So that's in essence the whole idea of MakerDAO and Dai in a very short explanation. So summary, I'm gonna read this to you, just to hear it as well, not just read it. Dai is a decentralized stablecoin open for anyone to generate, hold, use, and send around the world. Dai is an open source, uncensorable, and counterparty risk-free currency. And most importantly, the Dai stablecoin system is an open financial system that anyone can leverage to create business and social value today. And that's the takeaway pretty much. And right here, I have some stats of today, actually, what's going on today with our Dai system. So we have around 85 million Dai in supply. We have locked around 1.5 million ETH into our system. And that is around $482 million, right? Backing these 85 million Dai. So like I said before, there's an over-collateralization of the Dai that is issued on the market just because we want to play safe, and and if you don't want to play safe, of course, you become liquidated, so you lose. So we always, every CDP owner, they always understood this, that it's very important to over-collateralize. So overall, now the assets locked into our Dai system are completely worth much, much more than how much Dai is actually there on the market, right? So as you can see, we have the stability fee of 16.5% right now. And yeah, the collateralization ratio now is around 568%. That's a very healthy ratio for our overall system. And besides that, we're building, of course, the front ends that you can actually go and lock ETH to issue Dai at cdp.makerdao.com, right? You can go and check it out yourself. We have some stats dashboard that you can check at maker.tools. There you see the total, again, value of Dai, how much ETH is locked, different CDP positions, and so on. And if you're a Maker token holder or want to become one, you just go to vote.makerdao.com and check it out there and see, vote on different governance proposals. And yeah, our community is everywhere and growing. And if you're interested, please follow us along. And yeah, I guess thank you very much. And I have more slides later on, but please ask any questions.
Thanks so much, Petru. Yeah, you have a few questions, but I will read them out towards the end. For any of you who have not been able to ask your questions, drop them in the chat box. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Veronica, who is our second speaker. V, over to you.
Hi guys, just give me a second to set up. Multiple screens are problematic. Okay, so share screen 2, share. Okay, so let me move this up here. Can I move it? Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'm Veronica. I am the blockchain engineer for Molecule. I'm very excited to be here today. Okay, so sorry. Cool. So I'm going to be talking to you today about the importance of stablecoins in decentralized finance, DeFi. So we're going to cover what they are. First, we're going to briefly look at stablecoins because we just had a beautiful introduction to the concept of it. So I'm not going to go into that in too much depth. And then we're going to look at what DeFi actually is. And then followed by that, we're going to look at some DeFi products that are using stablecoins, and then we're going to wrap up. So what are stablecoins designed to do in terms of DeFi? So it's minimizing volatility is the main benefit that stablecoins have in DeFi. And they do this through representing a real world value, either USD or gold or some kind of already stable currency in the real world. So what is DeFi? DeFi is decentralized finance. And DeFi products are usually tools that allow for traditional finance tools in a decentralized, trustless, and transparent manner. So there are a lot of different types of DeFi instruments, so bear with me. Okay, so there's asset management, which is tokenizing so asset management is managing tokens. Derivatives are building on top of other DeFi products or decentralized products to make a DeFi product. Decentralized exchanges are exchanges that don't have a central entity in control. So we will be covering one later, so I'm not going to go too much into that. And then you have margin trading, which is going long, which means you take your 1 ETH, you go to the margin trading, and you can leverage yourself. So you can 1x or 2x or 5x yourself. So if I took 1 ETH to a margin trading, I would come out with 5. And if the price goes up, I get to keep those 5. And if the price doesn't go up, I lose those 5 and the 1 I put in, very simply. And then DeFi infrastructure is just any DeFi product that allows other DeFi products to be built on top of them. And then decentralized insurance is very interesting. You can insure everything from your phone and laptop to the security of your contract. So if you get hacked, you can have this insurance that your users aren't going to lose any of their tokens. Then you get asset tokenization, which is what I was describing in the beginning. So asset tokenization is taking a real world asset and then tokenizing it. So there's some really interesting projects that are looking into the tokenization of land deeds so that you have this immutable record of who owns the land, which is a very interesting product. But we're not going to look at that. Anyway, they have KYC and identity. So this is know your customer requirements, which a lot of ICOs got in trouble for not complying with back in the glory days. And self-sovereign identity, which is a very interesting use case. And you have decentralized lending, which is just a loan that you collateralize yourself. So think of a CDP, except actually just think of a CDP. And then we have marketplaces, which is just somewhere to sell your DeFi tokens. And then we have prediction markets, which are very interesting. They allow you to bet that something is either going to go well or badly. So think of like sports betting, but you could do it for anything. And then stablecoins, which we already understand. And then there's a lot of cool DeFi analytic products, but those are a whole different ballgame. So what is the role of stablecoins in DeFi? As you can see, there are a lot of different types. Those are just categories of DeFi products. So what is a stablecoin's role in DeFi? Literally, it is just for stability. Stablecoins, DeFi products are just traditional products in a decentralized manner. And if the underlying currency they're using isn't stable, it doesn't really help if you can take out a loan if the value of it is constantly fluctuating. So this was most apparent in 2017 with the boom of ICOs and ignoring all legitimate ICOs and just looking at the genuine teams who wanted to really create a product. Their funding, they received funding, all of their funding, in a really highly volatile currency. And some of them were clever and moved it into a stabler currency, but some of them didn't. And that was that fundraising that they rose that was supposed to last 2 years, suddenly only was lasting a couple months. And a lot of ICOs got really messed over by this. And then, of course, there were lots that just stole money, but that's a different talk. So let's look at some of the major products in the DeFi space that use stablecoins. Most of them do. So we have compound finance, which is one of the bigger, really clever uses of stablecoins. So compound finance allows you to supply and borrow liquidity from pools. As a supplier, you earn interest on the liquidity you provided. And as a borrower, you pay interest. And interest is determined by each market. And the value of that interest floats in real time and adjusts to market conditions. So like if there's more demand, the interest will go up, etc. So as a supplier, your tokens are not locked, meaning you can withdraw them at any time by returning the token that it mints to you when you put collateral in. So when you add collateral as a supplier, you get C token back. So if you put DAI in, you get C DAI out. or if you put ETH in, you get CETH out. And this token earns interest, inherently earns interest, which is a very powerful tool. So as we can see here, the two highest return interests and paying interests are both stable coins. And this is due partly to the fact that MakerDAO is not, I mean, DAI is not necessarily cheap or easy to make, but it's also due in fact to the fact that they're stable. So because they're the stable value, there's a higher demand for it. So inherently there's just a higher interest rate for it. This is a decentralized lending platform. You pool in all your tokens and you get a token out that is inherently earning interest. So now we're going to look at Uniswap, which is a decentralized exchange, which is non-rent seeking and non-custodial. So non-rent seeking means that they don't take a fee, and non-custodial means they won't hold your tokens for you. So when you swap with Uniswap, you're doing it from your wallet to them, and then they give you the token back to your wallet. You don't have a wallet with them. And why this is really important, especially in the DeFi space, is when major exchanges get hacked, it's not actually the tokens that are getting hacked, or the what's happening is because people have left their tokens on the exchange, that's what gets hacked. So with Uniswap, they don't actually keep any of your tokens, so it makes it much more secure. So Uniswap is really leveraging on this power of open source blockchain. Right, so bringing it back to stablecoins, we're going to look at XDAI. XDAI is a fascinating sidechain project. So what XDAI is a sidechain that is pegged against the main chain, the Ethereum blockchain. And what this means is you can have much faster block times and much lower gas fees because your transactions aren't being mined on the main chain. They're being mined on the side chain and then pegged back against the main chain for security. And this is huge because it means now, for example, I think, where was it? ETH Global, ETH Denver, they had it so that at the actual event, you would buy all your snacks and food and drinks with this guy, and they had the side chain running. And this was really cool because the transactions are much quicker. They have a 5-second block time, and it's much cheaper to actually make a transaction. And then they're just pegged back against the main chain to give it that main chain security. And then we're just going to quickly look at crypto cards, because crypto cards are also a big application of stablecoins. So a crypto card is I think they're Visa compliant, but it's a card that allows you to go to a shop and use it like a credit card and pay in crypto. And these are really cool, but the problem was you didn't want to pay with ETH because, you know, as you were saying earlier, your ETH might be worth like a Lambo 2 years down the line. Right now it's worth like a pizza, and you don't want to accidentally spend a Lambo's worth on a pizza. So these stable coins allow you to regulate how much you're actually going to be spending long term on these things, which is really cool. So to sum up, the uptake in DeFi products is due to a couple things, but mostly due to the amazing developers within the Ethereum ecosystem building these DeFi products, and then the uptake of stablecoins and just this stability that was really needed to kind of push them over the edge. So thank you guys so much for coming. Are there any questions?
Thanks so much, V. Yeah, if you have any questions for Veronica, we can either start with that, or I can start reading out some questions for Petru, and then we can come back to these questions.
I think we can start with Petru if you're ready.
Oh, I'm not ready.
Yeah, I mentioned, I think, Gino, you have quite a few questions, so I'd love for you to ask him directly and engage with Petru.
Yeah, I've posted some resources already that you can ask questions on Reddit, for example, because there's a very rich discussion about all these questions that Gino actually asked, you know. So if you're really curious into knowing in detail by the risk team why they make these decisions for certain aspects, right? We're explaining you what happens in an emergency shutdown of the system where Ether collapses in value completely, right? Things like those. So yeah, please head to the Reddit. That's where you find more deep discussions. And also, of course, we have community calls every Tuesday at 6 as well. Also, we have governance calls, which are mostly for people who are very interested in how the system works and are Maker token holders, right? So there they actually get the results from the risk team, like I showed in the presentation, and discuss decisions like, for example, raising the stability fee or decreasing the stability fee and so on, right? So we don't just raise the stability fee because we want to make money out of it. No, it's all related to some sort of scientific research and conclusions that we make out of reading the market, right? To come to that conclusion and so on. Yeah, so I could probably read the question here and answer quickly.
Cool. I think we can start with Veronica's question. Sorry, I'm just keeping tabs on who asked first. So I'll read it out. Veronica asked, are you surprised by how well your Maker holders handled the needed raising and lowering of the stability fee? And then in terms of the expected behavior, considering they may themselves have CDPs.
I'll read the question myself.
That's cool. Yeah, I know it gets super confusing. So I think it would also be cool for the participants to, just ask their questions.
Isn't it a risk being over-collateralized by, or having like oversubscribed by 500%? Like, wouldn't it be better to get more efficiency in that, where you can actually loan more DAI or encourage the loaning of more DAI?
Well, yes and no, because we have this asset, the Ether, right? It's very volatile. So when now it's up and it's 500%, right? But when last year it was 300%, right? So anything below 300, we think it's deemed dangerous, right, for your position. So 300 and above, yeah, it's all good. Yeah, Maker token holders, of course, they might be as well CDP holders, right? But they're mostly incentivized to make. They incentivize in MakerDAO and they incentivize in the DAI stablecoin system to actually make it work. So I saw another question out there that around voting. Yes, for you to vote, you have to be a Maker token holder, and that's it, nothing else. It's very simple. And when you're a token holder of Maker, you can just go to these governance calls or community calls and see what's happening. And then, there's proposal posted on vote.makerdao.com, and then you can just go there with your wallet and submit your vote, right? And then that's how it's decided in the end what fees are put into the system, right? Or what stability fees are, or many other things. Yeah. Any other questions? I know there's so many here, but okay. So why would the person? Question 0 from Gino. Why would the person take out the CDP if they already have the funds in Ether? Well, if they want DAI, they can just exchange their Ether to DAI. So the idea of CDP is actually issuing a loan, like you wanting a loan from the bank, let's say, right? You have any asset, sure, but then you say, well, I don't want to touch my asset right here, but I want to get a loan out of this asset, so I can use this loan to buy more of this asset, ETH, or buy a car or anything else, right? And that's what people do. They just lock their ETH collaterals. And what we actually saw happening, especially in the bear market in 2018, many of them just locked their ETH and issued tons of DAI and went to the market and bought more ETH, right? So they can put more ETH into their system. So in a way, they went leverage on their position of ETH, right? Which is you can do here. So that was definitely one of the first main use cases for CDPs. But we see many examples of people just locking their ETH for DAI and then using that DAI for, let's say, providing it to compound finance, right? Like Veronica said, to get those interest rates, right? And many other platforms like DYDX, which the interest rates are very good lately. So things like this. So because of that, we slowly saw this emergence of this movement, ecosystem called decentralized finance, DeFi, right? Where many people are building these interesting financial instruments, be it just you can loan your currency to get some interest rates or borrow, so you can actually play on the market and so on, right? So it's a very exciting ecosystem.
You
yeah,
probably can't say, but how is your I wrote it down here, hold on. How is your DAI savings rate going to be in comparison to some of these other DeFi products that have these interest rates?
That's a good question. I think it'll be compared to just the total supply of DAI overall and how much DAI is locked in this DAI savings rate, right? And actually, the DAI savings rate will also be denominated from the stability fee that you pay as a CDP owner, right? So when you are a CDP owner, you pay the stability fee, which is now 16.5%. So out of those 16.5%, there will be a small percentage taken to the DAI savings rate. So to incentivize DAI holders to lock their DAI, right? So that in essence helps for the stability of the DAI currency itself, right? To its peg to the dollar, right? Because there's a lot of intricate mechanisms how it's pegged to the dollar, right? So the DAI savings rates will help DAI to really be kept at $1, right? Okay, next questions. So what prevents maker CDPs from becoming the loan sharks of the crypto industry? Well, foremost, our priority at MakerDAO and the DAI stablecoin system is to keep DAI at pegged to $1. That's our first priority. That's what we do first at MakerDAO. The rest is just a side effect. So we've seen this spike in Ether crypto prices in the spring, right? So we needed to increase the stability fee because DAI was worth already 1.1, right? 1.2 and so on. So we really had to make sure that DAI is pegged to $1. So in order to make it to $1, we had to make it harder, more expensive for people to issue DAI on the market, right? Because there was a lot of supply and so on. Yeah. Okay.
Petru, let me know if it's going to be easier for me to read the questions or if you prefer to read it then yourselves.
You can read to me as well, yeah.
Yeah. Just to make sure, Tony asks, he says, I understand how I can get DAI. How do I convert the DAI to USD so that I can use the USD in the real world?
Right. So there are plenty of on-off ramp projects out there already. On-ramp, off-ramp means you just, get off from your cryptocurrency to real-world fiat currency, right? Euro, dollars. And usually there's what I know of, it's called Wire that does it. There's one in South Africa actually that does it as well. Let me quickly look at my presentation. Yeah, I think it's called CoinGate or something. But yeah, so the way basically, you get your, you get out of Ether to your local currency, it's the same with DAI, right? So you just go to these exchanges and, exchange it to dollars, to euros, and then put it to your bank account, right? There's also now plenty of services that actually provide you crypto debit cards, right? So you just deposit your ETH, DAI, whatever, to this credit debit card wallet address, right? And then you can easily just convert it to fiat or, withdraw from ATM or use that card directly, like Token Card or Wirex, if you heard about, right? So that's how we do it. And of course, we're working very closely with these kind of services because that's the real world usage mostly, right? To allow people to, of course, use DAI across the world and then transact across the world as well easily, right?
Okay, cool. Just going down. Natalia sharing some kind words, saying thank you for the presentation and for putting everything in such simple words. Yeah, I second that. That was lovely. Thanks, Petru. And then, I'm not sure if you answered George's question about who the fee goes to and if it's returned to MKR holders.
Yes. So the fee, it's a reward for the MKR token holders, right, from this DAI stablecoin system. So in the end, this DAI set of smart contracts, they accrue these fees from the system, right? And when there's a set amount of fees, the DAI basically buys Maker on the DAI system buys Maker on the open market and holds it and kind of burns it, right? So in the end, the supply of Maker decreases, and in essence, that increases the value of the Maker token, right? So that's how the DAI stablecoin system, in a way, incentivizes Maker token holders to, you know, make the right decisions, and also just by holding it, because, you know, a couple of years from now, there'll be less and less makers, and it'll be very worth indeed. So that's how the stability fees accrued, right? It's all on the DAI stablecoin system.
Cool, thanks, Petru. And then just another one from Natalia asking for the links to your calls. I'm not sure if you've added them at the bottom, yeah, of the thread. So share your links, and we'll share them on our Telegram group as well. I'll add the link below. And then Jay asks, how are the delegates determined in XDAI's DPOs?
Can you ask again?
How are the delegates determined in DAI's DPOs?
DPOs, I'm not sure what that means actually.
DPOs?
Delegated proof of stake.
Yeah.
Delegated proof of stake.
I think he was talking about XDAI.
Yeah, XDAI.
XDAI uses, yeah. I'm not sure actually how.
I know about XDAI actually. I can tell if you want.
Can you?
Yeah. So XDAI, it's a proof of authority chain, right? They use this consensus, and the way they linked to Ethereum, they just build this bridge that you can, let's say, you know, of course, it's XDAI has DAI as the main currency, right? So in order for you to actually send this DAI from Ethereum to XDAI, you do it through this bridge, pretty much, right? And then, yeah, it's all set of smart contracts that are actually linked to a node, a server, and then that kind of handles the thing. But XDAI, yeah, XDAI is just a proof of authority blockchain that has a much faster transaction fee, a much faster transactions, and a lower transaction fees, right? Did that answer the question?
I mean it more in the sense of like, how do the delegates in that DPoS system get determined? Like, how do you get picked as a validator?
All right. So for XDAI, actually, it's a bit of a centralized solution, right? Not like Ethereum, because XDAI team, they selected a set of partners to become validators, and MakerDAO is one of them, right? So there's around 4 or 5 very known companies out there in the crypto world, right? That they are validators of this chain, right? And that's it.
Is there any way to add more people into that?
Surely. Of course, just join their community and you know, make an application, I guess, and through their forums, and you can become a validator easily. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And then Link added a resource. Thanks, Linka. Yeah, I think we've gone through all of the questions. Unless you all have questions that you haven't been able to add into the chat box. Yeah, welcome to an open discussion.
I have a question. It's not so much as a complaint. Who named your contracts, your smart contracts? Because I tried to go and read them, and I had to go find a branch where someone had renamed them. It was a nightmare. What?
So the reason we named them this way was because we had very similar keywords across the system, right? So we really had to create these new keywords that specify a certain function, a certain parameter to a function, right? So everybody knows when we mention, let's say, ilk, then everybody knows what's an ilk instead of saying collateral type, right? Which is a longer word, and, you know, it takes more text in the code pretty much, right? So actually, we have good resources about that as well. I can just link it to you right now. So you will understand better how all this terminology comes to be. Honestly, it's not that hard, because when I joined Maker, I didn't understand anything. What's a jog? What's an ilk? What's a gem, right? But then when you read about it, it becomes more clear and actually makes sense why we call it this way now. Because when I say now gem, everybody understands what it's gem, and then we can move on with actually solving a problem instead of thinking what this actually means, right? So yeah, I fell in love now with these kind of namings, to be honest. So it's a matter of actually getting used to it, right?
A flip and a flop.
Exactly, flip, flop, flippy. Okay, let me show the link here.
Hello. So I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm quite lost on much of what is going on here. This is my first interaction with the blockchain community. You know, I don't know. I don't know if you guys have the luxury of time to walk me through the entire idea of blockchain, or are there materials that you could just kind of limit towards to kind of like study to find my foot around the entire blockchain world? Because I'm curious as to much of what has been said in the conversation today.
We linked to our YouTube in the comments. If you go look there, this community call has been running for a while, and I think in one of the calls we do cover the basics. So just go look at there, but there's lots of resources.
All right, that would be good. Thank you.
I think, in my opinion, the way I learned a lot about this was actually watching a lot of videos from Andreas Antonopoulos.
I spent 4 months consuming as much as I...
Sorry, guys. So yeah, Andreas Antonopoulos, he's a very good resource for the community, and I really recommend you watch a lot of his videos. He starts with Bitcoin, and that's all you need to know about blockchains, right? And then of course you can go dive into Ethereum and any other blockchains out there, but surely you can definitely start with Andreas Antonopoulos on YouTube, and he'll make it clear for you the whys of your questions, right?
Thank you so much. That was very helpful.
Cheers.
Yeah, and then I will link our Telegram join chat link as well, just to keep up to date with some of the conversations we're having regarding what's happening in the blockchain space, some events that we will be hosting internationally, and just the status of our projects. I will send the link now. There you go. Yeah, just a gentle invitation as well. All right, well, if there aren't any more questions, I'd like to say thank you to our speakers. It's been really great to have you. I speak on behalf of everyone. It was super insightful. Just getting more information on stablecoins and then the DeFi aspect as well. Thanks for joining. Unless there aren't any more questions, I don't want to chase you off the call. Ask away. We have time.
Thank you.